Welcome back to Bat Fridays here on One Comic Book a Day, where we're covering Detective Comics 83, accidentally on purpose. This is a fascinating, I know I say fascinating too much, but it is a fascinating Batman comic because its real purpose, even though it's the B plot, and it's not like throughout the comic, but it is the purpose of the story, is to redesign Alfred. Remember, Alfred's only really existed for a year or two in Batman comics at this point. He wasn't there at the beginning, he just showed up one day as their new butler. So, what they're trying to do in this comic is explain how Alfred goes from this bumbling, kind of overweight, I don't want to say fat, it's mean, but he does have some extra pounds. He has a gut and goes to a design of Alfred that we are all more accustomed with. In fact, it's a design of Alfred that would work today in comics. Sort of balding, this thin waif of a character. Waif might be too strong of a category there, but it is a comic that's basically the origin of how Alfred went from an Alfred no one's remembers unless you're like a hardcore Golden Age fan of Batman to the Alfred we all know if you're trying to picture Alfred. So Alfred is working out, and they send him on vacation, which was funny to me because he hasn't been in the comics for all that long if we're really looking at it. I kind of get lost because I'm doing this once a week, and also we took some time off there. I kept getting busy on Fridays, so I keep forgetting how long Alfred has actually been here, but I don't think he's been here all that long. So for him to get this vacation, and it almost felt like they were setting up that Batman and Robin couldn't get along without him, or they would have problems without him, even though they had existed for so long without him. And then after he leaves for his vacation, it's this other story that's maybe not the most compelling Batman story. It's different, and it never feels like it's being overtly repetitive, thankfully, due to some decisions involving Batman. There's a crime wave involving a criminal named Biff, but what's really happening is they are actively injuring rich people or business owners, and a Dr. Goodwin will show up, and Dr. Goodwin is supposedly healing them, but he's actually drugging them up so they can be susceptible to a bit of mind control. So they will rob themselves and then bring the jewelry over, and no one can make the connection except for Batman and Robin, who happen to show up at two different versions of these people getting hurt and Dr. Goodwin being there. Now, this could get tiring. You see how this can be repetitive one after another, but they are suspicious after the second time Dr. Goodwin shows up. It is when Batman gets his weakness. Now, say it with me here, getting hit in the back of the head. He really needs to reinforce his cowl in the back, because man, does he get knocked out from being hit in the back of the head. Does Dr. Goodwin then do it to Batman? So we get this wonderful little conflict here where Batman is now a bit hypnotized to commit a crime. Robin follows him, and Batman actually fights out of this control. He comes close to breaking into the safe, but inherently his own training, as it would be later on in Batman. We're not exactly the Batman who has like full control of his mind, that he's gone through all this training and like you can't really mind control him, or you don't want to go inside his mind. That would be a later way for Batman to get out of this. There's been some crazy stuff with Batman and his mind. Look up the Batman of Zur-En-Arr. We're not talking about the Batman of Zur-En-Arr. I would love to talk about the Batman of Zur-En-Arr, but we're not talking about the Batman of Zur-En-Arr. So he actually is not mind control, and then we get a fight between them where things are about to go bad. My favorite thing about this comic is at one point the gangsters pull machine guns on Batman and Robin, and they seem literally shocked that the gangsters would have machine guns. And I guess the gangsters haven't exactly had machine guns. They might have. I don't remember what guns they've pulled. Usually it's handguns, so it's definitely been predominantly handguns. But it has been machine guns, but like how shocked that gangsters would have machine guns. It seems like improbable to them. Gangsters are known for Tommy guns, man, especially at this time. But they are saved by some random mysterious guy bumbling in and falling on the criminals, only for them to suddenly realize, not suddenly, it takes a little dialogue, to a point I'm like, wait, is this Alfred? Because this dude looks like Alfred. And it is, in fact, Alfred, and we get an explanation that he went to some, like, health resort for his vacation, and he spent a long time in that steam machine. You remember those steam machines where you would get in? It was usually used in jokes where it would, like, open up, and there would be a surprisingly large individual inside. But that worked, and it changed Alfred. It changed Alfred a little too much because his hairline is completely different. He wasn't really balding before, or at least not like this. It's more like a widow's. It's not widow's peak specifically, but the hairline is different. In fact, his entire design is different. It's not even the same jawline. It is a completely different person. It's like he regenerated into the Alfred we all know and arguably love. I don't know why I said arguably there, but it's a design of Alfred we know. He is still bumbling, which is not exactly what Alfred is. There have been jokes with Alfred. Alfred can be, and I've said this before, the sarcastic, insulting, criticizing to Batman type. He's sort of his conscience a lot of times. There have been great moments with Alfred, especially in the Batman 66 episode where Alfred has to put on the Batman costume and you can see the mustache, the Napier mustache, which Tom King then referenced later in the first run of his the first storyline of his comic with Alfred putting on that costume, and the cowl fits weird. I think about that a lot for some reason. Though Tom King is the one who killed Alfred. If you're unaware, Alfred has been dead since the near the end of Tom King's run, which was around 2021 or 2022 when it ended. So Alfred's been dead for quite a while in Batman. They have cheated with him being a demon looking like Alfred. Nausea, if you're familiar with the Lazarus War storyline. We're not talking about that story. And currently, I believe in Tom Taylor, not to be confused with Tom King's detective run, Alfred is currently, and no, it's in Matt Fraction's Batman run actually that just started. It's like 3 or 4 issues in. Alfred is like a AI hologram. So Alfred has found cheats to come back. It's kind of shocking because comics have had a sort of cycle when it comes to killing off characters for the last 20 to 30 years, especially at that time where both Batman and Captain America died. Bruce and Steve Rogers died, and they were gone for about 2 years. About a year in comic timeline, but they were dead for about 2 years before they got brought back. In oddly similar fashions, there is a video in me to talk about how Ed Brubaker and Grant Morrison's Batman and Captain America runs were oddly, in the broad strokes, similar, but very different stories. But like, if I explained it beat by beat, you'd be like, are they ripping each other off? They weren't. They're very different writers. But they were like happening within 6 months of each other. It's wild that that happened. Man, I've gone way off topic. So essentially, this is all just a comic to explain how Alfred became Skinny Alfred when we're still at a time in comic books where characters' designs changed radically sometimes. George Taylor to Perry White, even when he became Perry White, wasn't necessarily drawn the same from Action comic or Superman issue. Sometimes he would be kind of like a square jawed, maybe 30 to 40-year-old ish. Then he would be like an older, balding, out of shape man. There wasn't like a specific design, but they seem to need to have pulled this off with Alfred and explain this. And then I guess we'll never like reference the original Alfred design ever again. Okay, that is it from Detective Comics 83. Yeah, it was 83. Accidentally on purpose. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to get notifications when a new video goes up. I do this Fridays, but Mondays and Thursdays I cover a Superman story or a Superboy story in their comics. And please join me next time, same bat day, same comic book channel. Have a great day.